to get started today, we're working on this pattern following this warm-up. We have this pattern that we can see stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 of. You need to figure out what stage 4 is going to look like, and stage 10 and stage 100. So we want to look for a pattern that's somewhat predictable, that's easy to be able to skip ahead all the way to the 10th or to the 100th stage. When you're done with those first couple of steps, you're going to finish up with part C where it says write a rule. Please understand and listen. When it says write a rule, that means write an equation. So yes, you need to be able to get to a point where you can view that pattern and generalize it so that you can write an equation. T represents the total number of blocks, and S represents the stage. So pause the video until you've been able to answer those questions. Continue when we, words are hard. We'll go over it when you unpause the video. How many blocks are here in stage 1? 3 blocks. How many blocks are here in stage 2? 5. How many in stage 3? Without even drawing it, how many blocks then are going to be in stage 4? Can you tell just with that information? Yeah. How many blocks will there be in stage 4, Camden? 9 blocks. And how are we getting that? Lainey. Yeah, they're adding a block onto each end. So we start with this figure, and then to get from this figure to this figure, this is a new block, and this is a new block. So how many blocks am I adding? Adding 2. What's the rate of change then? 2, because we're adding 2. And here, stage 3, it's like taking this last figure, but then we're adding on a block here and a block here. So yes, we are adding 2 each time. So of course, we know that stage 4 is going to look kind of like stage 3, but with an extra block on each side. But here's the challenge though, is if you view the pattern that way, it gets to be a little bit hard when I'm skipping all the way up to stage 10, right? Because I can't just say add 2 blocks, because I'm skipping a whole bunch of stages. So we need to be able to view this pattern in a different way. Although this is a great way to get started, here is the way that I suggest. And maybe you also viewed it this way, but let's add to that. Do you see the corner block that's there in every stage? Yeah. And so in stage 4, it's going to have the corner block too. But that's not it. We have, as Lainey pointed out, there's like 2 arms, right? 2 limbs. This limb goes up, and this limb goes to the side. How many blocks in stage 1, how many blocks go up? 1. How many go this way? 1. Good. Stage 2, find that limb. Here's that limb going up. How many blocks there? 2. How many blocks here going this way? 2. So stage 2 has 2 going up and 2 going across. Stage 3, how many do you see? 3 going up and 3 going across. That's weird, right? Stage 3 had 3 going up and 3 going across. Stage 4, I don't want to have to draw every block. And I know it says to. I don't want to, but I know it's going to have this basic shape where here's that 1 corner block and I have a limb going up and a limb going across. How many blocks are there going to be here? 4. And how many here? 4. So 8 blocks. It says 9. So what did I do wrong? Lucas? Yeah, we have to count the corner block. And that's helpful to view the pattern in this way because now stage 10, instead of having to go add 2 more on each one, add 2 more on each one, add 2 more on each one, and skip enough times, we know that it's going to have a corner block. And it's going to have 2 limbs. 1 limb is going to go up. 1 limb is going to go to the side. How many will be in each? Tyson? Total? Yes, 21 blocks, but let's break it down. How many in each? 10 here, 10 here, and how many here? 1. So how are we getting that 21? Well, 10, 2 times, and then an extra 1 in the corner. So stage 100. This is important to recognize stage 100 because do you really want to draw all those blocks?
Yes.
No. All right, you can do that for your homework. Stage 100, how many blocks? Camden. But how did you do that so quick? Good. A corner block. And, hold on, my thing. There we go. And 100 going up. And 100 going to the side. Good. So we take both of these hundreds, 100 2 times, plus 1 is how we get 201 blocks. And again, these are important steps. Being able to see that we're adding 2 each time, but generalizing that to where I can skip to the 10th stage or the 100th stage. Because now, do you know what stage S is going to look like? Because don't you know what all of these other stages look like? What do they all have? But before I have some going up and going across, what do I have even before that? Yeah, we have to have our corner block. And now that I have my corner block, then I'm like, oh yeah, I have some going up and some going this way. How many do I have? This is stage S. How many were going up in stage 4? 4. How many were going up in stage 10? How many in stage 100? So how many blocks are going to be going up in stage S? Let's try this again. Let's try this again. Stage 4, how many are going up? 4. Stage 10, how many are going up? 10. Am I changing that to say a different number? No. Stage 100, how many are going up? 100. So stage S, how many are going to go up? S. Yes, some of you said that. Not everybody said that. In stage 4, how many blocks are going across? 4. Stage 10, how many going across? Stage 100, we have 100 going across. So stage S, how many blocks will be going across? S. Is that all? What am I missing? The corner block. So how many blocks will there be in stage S? It's not S. It's definitely not S. So again, you're saying that in stage 100 there was 100 blocks? No. How did we get the 201 blocks? Haley? Yes, we added 100, 101. And while that is perfectly true, I like looking at it a little bit differently, but you're not wrong. S plus 1. In other words, I'm going to ask this question. How many S's do I have? I have 2 S's. So instead of saying S plus 1, I can say 2 S's. But that's not all, right? It's 2 S's plus the 1 corner block. I'm going to color code that too. This is not a rule. We're not done. Because it says we need to represent, make an equation. I am missing the equals t. Equals the total number of blocks. And again, equals t equals the total number of blocks. This is what I'm going to be expecting you to be able to type into your calculator for the future ones. You need to be able to get to that point where you're writing your rule, writing your equation. And look at all of the baby steps that we took to get there. We figured it out for stage 4. And I didn't draw every block. I just kind of like, oh, limbs, and how many's in each limb? And same thing, oh, limbs, how many's in each limb? Once we add it all up together, we can see the pattern for stage S. Please take out lesson 6. I was recording the whole time. I didn't forget today. Not yet, anyway. Lesson 6. We are going to pick up kind of where we left off. To get started, I need you to get all of your graphs and your situations back out. I told my last class to try and keep them grouped together so that the matches were with the matches. I don't know if they actually did that or not. So you need to make sure that they are matched again. But I'm not going to give you the time to match them again slowly and strugglingly like we did last time. Let's go through this. Check to make sure that graph 1 is with situation C. And graph 2 should be with situation A. So again, 1C, 2A, and 3D. Everything matching so far? Did my last class help out? So again, for those who didn't have them already sorted in order for them, 1 and C should be together. 2 and A should be together. 3 and D should be together. And 4 and F should be together. 5 and E together. And 6 and B together. And now, what we're going to be doing, go to your packet where it has these instructions, front page, very bottom. We've already done the match each situation. Now, you're going to pick one proportional relationship and one non-proportional relationship and answer the following questions about them. So pick one proportional. Notice which ones are proportional. How can you tell if a situation is proportional by looking at the graph? Lucas? Yep. If it goes through the origin. So here's the ones that are proportional. Graph 4 goes through the origin. 5 goes through the origin. 6 goes through the origin. Non-proportional would be 1 doesn't go through the origin, 2 doesn't go through the origin, and 3 doesn't go through the origin. So, with your group, pick one proportional and one non-proportional. Okay? Got them picked. And now, here's what you're doing. We've already talked about how you can find the slope from the graph. How do we do that? We've talked about this so many times. We look for the rise and the run. And we write it as the ratio, rise over run. Make sure you're paying attention to the scale. We're not just counting up one box. If that one box or that one line is worth 10, we need to pay attention to that scale. So what you're doing is you're going to explain what the slope means in each situation and find the point where the line crosses the vertical axis or the y-axis. What does that point tell us about the situation? Guess what? I am doing 1C with you. So if you chose 1C as the one that you wanted to do, try again. Pick a different one because we're doing 1C altogether. And we did talk about this yesterday, where we asked, what does that slope actually mean? So let's review. What does the slope mean? Well, the slope was 5 over 1. And I simplified it to 5, yes. But if we keep it the fraction 5 over 1, that's when we're like, okay, the rise. What does the rise actually measure? When I'm measuring the rise, that's the y. Read the problem. And it says that the y represents what? The amount in the piggy bank. So I would use the dollar sign to show that. And the run goes this way. That's our x. And our run, it says, is x weeks. So I put here in the run, weeks. So in other words, $5 every 1 week. And so what does the slope mean? $5 per week. Can you do that with your own graph? Can you read through the situation to see what the y is talking about and what the x is talking about? Yep. But you're not done after that. You also have to say, okay, what does the y-intercept mean? Do you see how this line is crossing the y-axis right here? That's the number 10. What does that 10 mean? So think back to when we had that Grace and Kelly situation when they were driving away, right? And why is it that Kelly's graph was not proportional? Because she started somewhere else, right? So what's happening here? The money's starting somewhere else. Specifically where? At 10. So we would interpret that to mean Diego, because it's talking about Diego. Diego started with $10 in his piggy bank. Key thing, though, is it's because of where we are starting. That number represents what we're starting with, and it means something different for each situation. Now, you're going to do this with your groups, with your one situation that is non-proportional, so either graph 2 situation A or graph 3 situation D. And again, one of these non-proportional ones, or sorry, one of these proportional ones, either 4F, 5E, 6B. With your groups, figure that out. If you're working at home and learning online, why don't you just do 2A since it's right here on the screen? You can pause it and answer that question. Okay. I don't know who chose what situation, so we're going to go over all of them. Situation A goes with graph 2. We already know the slope is 10. We can see it in the graph. It says right here the slope is 10. So what does that mean? Well, again, even though it says 10, I like to keep it as the rise over the run. The rise is the y values. What are we measuring in the y values? Money. What are we measuring in the x values? Months. So what does the rise over the run mean? It means dollars per month. So the slope is $10 per month. Now, that was only part B. Part C said, what is the y-intercept or that vertical intercept? What does it mean? Where is it crossing the y-axis? Right here at 40. But what does that $40 mean? Starts at 40. Exactly. Diego started with 10 in his piggy bank, but let's make sense of it. Started with 40. What does that started with 40 mean for this situation? Lynn's dad bought a tablet. He pays the same amount each month for a subscription to a movie streaming service. So what does that starting with 40 mean? Lainey, what do you think? You're thinking of the wrong situation. We're looking at Lynn who's buying a tablet. So there's no savings or anything because Lynn is buying a tablet, or Lynn's dad is buying a tablet, and he's paying, as we already interpreted, that $10 per month. So what does this starting of 40 actually mean? Camden? I'll read the situation again. Lynn's dad bought a tablet. He pays the same amount of money each month for a subscription. What in the world could the starting at 40 mean? Lainey's still the only one who caught that clue. I basically yelled the answer. Lainey, what do you think? Nope, he's not paying $40 a month. He's paying how much a month? $10 per month. So what is going on with that 40? I'll read it one more time. Lynn's dad bought a tablet. What could that starting at 40 possibly mean? Cole? Good, and I like how you're interpreting it. We don't know exactly, but it means that we're starting with 40. What does that mean for the situation? Well, since Lynn's dad had to buy a tablet to get started, then it probably means the tablet is a really terrible tablet because it only costs $40. In other words, it costs $40 because for sure he had to start with $40, start paying $40. Now, why would we start with $40? Probably because we had to buy the tablet, or like if you're setting up the movie streaming service, you probably have to buy the Roku stick or whatever it ends up being, right? So it kind of depends on the situation. Maybe that's the initial setup fee. Maybe that's because we're buying the tablet. Either way, we're starting with the $40. You have to interpret what that starting point means. Don't just say start with 40. Why are we starting with 40? Does that make sense? Okay, that's why I really emphasize that Lynn's dad bought a tablet because it probably cost $40. Graph 3, situation D, for those who did that one. Again, I can see the rise over the run is 30 over 2. Yes, 30 over 2 simplified to 15, but instead of writing 15, I'm going to write 15 over 1. And I read through and it says, piggy bank, why the amount? Oh, it looks like we're dealing with money again. So the rise is the Y. Do you see how I'm writing notes here? So those of you who sat there the whole time doing nothing, perhaps you could be writing notes so that you can do better next time. The rise is the Y values, and the Y values, we're talking about the amount of money, therefore money. The run is the X values, and I read and it says the X values represents months. So the rise over the run is dollars per month. So this would be $15 per month in the piggy bank. That's not the only question you had to answer. You also had to answer, what does this mean? Lainey, I know now why you answered, because you had this situation. So what does the 40 mean for this problem, Lainey? Yeah, he starts with the $40 in his piggy bank already. So again, yes, that y-intercept means we are starting at 40. But why are we starting at 40? Because there's $40 in the piggy bank to start. Next problem. If this was the situation that you chose, graph 4, situation F, what does the slope mean? This time it's Lynn's mom. Oops, I'm giving it away. 40. The slope of the line is 40. I write that as 40 over 1. And I remember that this is the rise, which is the Y values, over the run, which is the X values. What am I measuring in the Y values? It says the graph represents how much money she spent. So the 40 is money. The X value is the run, and that tells me right here that that would be months. I was going to write months. It is Lynn's mom. Months. $40 per month is what that 40 means. Where is this one intersecting the y-axis? At the origin, but what does that mean? Yeah, she hasn't spent any money. Why hasn't she spent any money? Let's go back. Let's think. Are you ready? Lynn's dad bought a tablet, so he started paying $4. Why? Probably because he bought a tablet. Let's read the next one. Lynn's mom, she does pay the same amount of month for internet service for her business tablet. Does she have to buy anything to get started? Probably. Why? Because it's her business tablet. No money to start. We're starting at 0, which means no money to start, or it costs $0 for 0 months. Graph 5E, depending on those who did this one. I like this one. What does the slope 1 over 4 mean? Did anybody choose this one? Good. Nobody else did. I want you all to go back because I like this one. This had some good discussion in my last class. What does that 1 over 4 mean? Discuss with your groups. I'm going to pause the video here again so you at home can also do this one. Okay, what do you think? What am I measuring with the y's? The rise and the y values. What am I measuring? Lucas? Yep, y is measuring money. Not just money, but dollars. Yep. And x is the days. So what does this mean? Because this is the first time we've had a fraction. So this means $1 every 4 days. $1 every 4 days. And think about that. Does that match with what it says? Elena adds a quarter to her piggy bank every day. If it's a quarter, how long will it take to get to $1? 4 days. Okay, what does it mean? Here, this time we're starting at 0. What does that 0 mean? She had no money in the beginning. Yep, she was broke. Started with $0 in the bank. And just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and skip situation B, graph 6, just because I want to be able to summarize and do some other things. I do like this problem, but we are short on time, so we're going to skip the summer reading problem. If you would like to see it done, it is already, no, just never mind. Let's do our cool down. While this is all fresh in our heads, skip to the cool down, but we're going to add some things. We're going to add some extra questions. It says, this graph shows the savings in Andre's bank account. Okay? You can see the x-axis is labeled for us. The y-axis is labeled for us. It is asking what is the slope of the line, but I also want to ask this question. What is that y-intercept? The next question it asks, what is the meaning of the slope in this situation? Which means I'm also going to ask, what is the meaning of the y-intercept? So you know those questions that we just asked and answered for all of those other situations? You're repeating that process with this new situation. With your groups, what is a slope? What does it mean? What is the y-intercept? What does it mean? You have about 90 seconds to work on this. With your group, start discussing. Video is being paused. What's the slope of the line? Lucas, thank you for getting us started. It is 5. How did you get that? Mm-hmm. Exactly. How many of you guys saw that, yes, we're going up 1 box, but that means we're counting up by 20. Good job, Camden. Moral of the story. This was our struggle yesterday. Apparently it's a struggle today. You can't just count the lines. How much are we going up if we're going from 40 to 60? 20. What is the run? 4. Are you sure? What are we counting by? Oh, we are counting by 1, so that's okay. So the slope of the line is 20 over 4, rise over run, but that simplifies to 5. So what is the meaning of the slope? I'm going to take that 5 and write it as 5 over 1. Voice is off. What does the 5 mean? What are we measuring in the y-axis? Come on, this is so much easier than the ones. Savings in dollars. Because see how it literally says right here? Savings in dollars. See that part? So what am I measuring in the y? Dollars. Savings in dollars. What is the run measuring? Weeks. So the rise of dollars over the run in weeks means it is $5 per week. Now you know you're not done. What is the y-intercept? Where is it crossing the y-axis? I'm going to circle it. 40. So yes, we can write 40. Even better though, instead of just saying 40, let's write it as a pair of coordinates, 0, 40. What does this mean? What is the meaning of the y-intercept? What does it mean for the situation? Remember, this graph shows the savings in Andre's bank account. What does the 40 mean? Thank you. Started with $40. Okay, so listen. Basically, every time I say what is the meaning of the y-intercept, it's always started with and then the number, right? So what does the y-intercept mean? It's what we are starting with. And if you're struggling, you shouldn't be, but if you are, 0, 40, remember how all pairs of coordinates are in x, y? And what are we measuring in the x-axis again? Oh yeah, weeks. What are we measuring in the y-axis again? Oh yeah, savings in dollars. So what does this mean at 0 weeks, or in other words, in the beginning? $40. What does 0 weeks mean? Means starting, in the beginning. Okay. I've answered that question so many times now, I hope that you feel confident to answer those kinds of questions on your homework. Let's read through the summary. At the start of summer break, Jada and Lynn decide to save some of the money they earn, helping out their neighbors to use during the school year. Jada starts by putting $20 into a savings jar in her room and plans to save $10 a week. Lynn starts by putting $10 into a savings jar in her room and plans to save $20 a week. Here are graphs of how much money they will save after 10 weeks if they follow their plans. I'm going to highlight and color code. The value where the line intersects the vertical axis is called the vertical intercept. I don't often call it the vertical intercept. I call it, let's keep reading. When the vertical axis is labeled with a variable like y, this value is also often, not just often, but almost always called the y-intercept. Fancy word for saying where it intersects the y-axis, where it crosses the y-axis. Jada's graph has a vertical intercept of 20, while Lynn's graph has a vertical intercept of 10. These values reflect the amount of money they each started with. Because once again, it tells us where they're starting. So your glossary terms, yes, it says vertical intercept. I am almost never going to use that term unless I am reading something. I will call it the y-intercept. And your teachers in your future years of math classes are also going to call it the y-intercept, because it is where it intersects or crosses the y-axis. Your homework, ladies and gentlemen, is Lesson 6 practice problems. All of them. That's it for today.